Time to finish the best season yet of Clone Wars. This time, Season 5 is finally coming to an end. Now come on with me as I continue to watch through the Clone Wars for the first time. Well, hello there! My name's Jeremy and welcome back to Freeform Disney, where I talk about all aspects of Disney, from the animated movies to the theme parks to Star Wars, Marvel, and Pixar, and the TV shows, and everything else in between. And that is why it's Freeform. And keep coming back every day for new daily content. If you're not subscribed yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Welcome back once again. It is time to finish talking about Season 5, and quick spoiler, I think we saved the best for last, at least in my humble opinion. So here we go. Let's start off this arc with the episode Sabotage. So we pop in over to Cato Nemoidia, and, well, it's under attack. We've got all kinds of good Republican separatist forces. Anakin and Ahsoka pop up in their fighters, and zoom off over to the planet. And there's really a lot that's reminiscent of the beginning of episode 3 and that big star fight right there up over top of Coruscant. Just with Anakin and Obi-Wan here being replaced with Anakin and Ahsoka. And certainly their own characteristics and their own nature. And really we get to see how well Anakin and Ahsoka are working in sync during this. And yeah, it's fun. And, well, buzz droids hit Anakin. And it's interesting we get to watch him force shove a number of them. Something he didn't do in episode 3. You kind of go, wonder why he didn't do that there, huh? Not that it works considering all the buzz droids that get underside of the ship. Yeah. No, this was a fun action scene to start on. Kind of the whole style where you start a movie with your big action piece and then jump to whatever's really going on. That's definitely what this felt like right here. And I think it did a great job. We get to watch Ahsoka come to Anakin's rescue because Anakin gets knocked out during the course of it, jumping off of her fighter, doing all kinds of heroics in there. Fighter crashed. I saved the day. You're welcome. Nice scene. Fun start to this episode right here. Well, after that, Yoda calls them back to the Jedi Temple ASAP. Because apparently someone has bombed the Jedi Temple. Dun dun dun. And Anakin is put in charge of the investigation as he wasn't there, so therefore he's above suspicion. But we should be suspicious of anyone, even Jedi. I thought it was an interesting touch as we went over into the hangar where Anakin's talking about still hearing the screams of everyone who was in there. Just how you can feel that through the Force. Yeah. And there's this talk about how, well, Jedi can turn, and a nice reference back to Dooku and then General Krell as well. And there are many political idealists, as Anakin would put it. Well, and he puts it as if political idealism in and of itself is a bad thing. Well, you know. And we end up coming upon, hey, maybe it's this guy, Jakar Mamoni, because he was part of the maintenance crew, and no one knows where he's at right now, and he was in the right area, a little suspicious. But at the same time, there are all these rumors growing that maybe it was a Jedi. Maybe it was a Jedi. Maybe it was a Jedi. And so even all these people who have been working inside the temple for years and years and years are starting to get a little less trusting of the Jedi here at this point. And it's interesting to watch how insidious that suspicion and doubt can be. And outside the temple, we get these anti-war protests, and it seems like it's just the families of the people who died actually in the hangar. I imagine it's a smaller symptom of the overall anti-war protests that I imagine are much more widespread, especially from how we talked about the issues during the course of the episode. It definitely seems like there's a much bigger anti-war movement, a peace movement that's much bigger. Heck, even within the Senate, we know there is certainly a peace movement and some anti-war movement going on. When it comes to people like, say, Bail Organa, Mon Mothma, Padme Amidala, and others that are also in that same circle right there. So it's interesting we haven't really dealt with the public. We haven't dealt with the public much at all during Clone Wars and what public sentiment really is during the war. So this is a nice touch of really getting to see at least a little bit of what's going on in public sentiment. Well, anyway, over in that anti-war protest, Jakar's wife happens to be here, and we bring her on in and ask her some questions. And, well, she says it was Jakar's dream to work at the temple, and you know how hard of a job it is to get how many tests you have to go through? Which, considering everything, that doesn't surprise me. All the tests a Jedi would probably put you through, it's oof. Yeah. All the more reason you'd expect something like this sabotage, this bombing here, not to have happened in the first dang place. Well, onward we go, and we head back into the hangar again. And this is a cool shot. I just love the colors in here, all the blues, and getting to see the three-dimensional projection of what used to happen earlier there in the hangar and leading up to the explosion and watching it. Just kind of their recreation of what happened. It's just really cool to look at. Well, anyway, we find out that, guess what? There were nanodroids in there. So, nano-weaponry, which I think is our first reference to nano-weaponry in the Clone Wars. I could be wrong, but I don't remember anything about nano-weaponry before. That's a scary type of weaponry right there. Yeesh. Well, things keep going. So the Jedi Council is telling us that there are whispers that the Senate may decide if the military police should get involved. So they've kind of got to work quick, otherwise, yeah. And why? Well, that's because clones died too. It wasn't just Jedi and or civilians in there. Because the clones did, the Senate definitely might care a little bit more about what's going on. So things are compounding a little bit and potentially getting messier. And we keep going and we find Jakar's hand. Because that's all that's left of him. Because that whole nano-weaponry, that little bomb, guess what? It was all throughout his bloodstream and he blew up. So he himself was the bomb. That's how you snuck a bomb into the Jedi Temple, by being one. Whew. So we're definitely in close now on this episode. So it's time to head off to Jakar's home and see what else we can find out. And there's a cool Jedi speeder they go in as they head over there. Anakin and Ahsoka. And where they're going, it's not a good neighborhood. And Ahsoka said it a little bit after I thought it myself, but I would have thought working for the Jedi would have paid better. Yeah, no kidding. You work for the Jedi, a job that is that hard to get on top of all of that. And you're living in poverty like that. It's like, yikes. Ugh. Meanwhile, the Jedi live how? In their beautiful, nice temple, beautiful rooms. Oh. We're not going to dig too much deeper into that, but even to take the time to reference it and really think about it. Oh, I really appreciate that being in here. Well, so we keep looking, we find our clues that we're really looking for. Nanodroids were in the food. Leda, his wife, shows up, who we saw earlier, and, well, she runs from them after she supposedly is going to go along with heading in. Unsurprisingly, she doesn't run too well from the Jedi of Anakin and Ahsoka. It just doesn't work too well. And man, the frustration on Ahsoka's face near anger, and Anakin, oh, dang, there's some anger in there. And let's ignore the whole little line about, oh, well, since you ran, you must have something to be guilty about. No, that's really not how that works. It's a great cliche we use all the bloody time, in real life here too. But running from police or Jedi or whatever in this case does not mean you are guilty. There are all kinds of things people don't want to get involved with, or they have other issues. Maybe they're not guilty of that. Or, on top of that, people get framed for things. So, no, running does not mean you're guilty. In this case, yeah, she very, very much is guilty. Because she killed her husband, turned her husband into a bomb without his knowledge, and then he blew up. Yikes. Well, anyway, she's arrested. Our droid Russo concludes that based on everything that he knows, she acted alone. Anything within the temple that we could see, anyway. Not that I'm sure how that would tell you that she acted alone. It really just says that nobody helped inside the temple, as who knows whether she acted alone beyond that. And to finish off the episode, we find out from Mace Windu that, guess what? Public opinion is starting to sway against the Jedi because the war is really unpopular. So the longer it goes on, the more people are turning against the Jedi. And we get this interesting piece at the end with Ahsoka and Anakin talking and how she's not sure how she would have felt if it were a Jedi. Well, yeah, messy. And Anakin, well, there will be Jedi who disappoint us. But as long as there are good ones doing good work, then hey, it all makes it all worthwhile. Will you always think that? Probably not. It's a little too simplistic to go ahead and make that cover up for big problems amongst the Jedi. Okay, so that is the end of the first episode of the arc. And whew, wow. Lots of things to talk about. First off, the cinematic quality to how this episode was done really got me. Now, certain times shows will make a set of episodes or a single episode that are much more film-like, movie-like, rather than TV episodic style. It's just a change in how you do the shots. You have a lot more long shots. Some of the ways you use your wide mediums and your close-ups, etc. Things like that. The pacing, the story, things like that can be very different, especially music as well. Anyway, this one very much had much more of a movie quality in the way it went about its job. And man, this was a super engrossing episode for me. Well done. And it helped enhance and expand the story and the world. The pacing was on spot. And I was actually surprised it didn't actually end with a cliffhanger. I almost could feel like it was a one-off if I didn't know that this was an arc. Almost. There are certain elements that it feels like there's more to this coming. And dang, I've got to say, not since Umbara have I felt the quality was quite up to this level. And this feels even more cinematic than Umbara does. That's not necessarily better or worse per se in and of itself, but it does. It feels more movie-like in that sense. So yeah. Whew. Okay. So that was the first one of 4. Let's jump on to the next one then. The Jedi Who Knew Too Much. So we pick up largely right where we left off. We're off doing a eulogy to the fallen Jedi by Yoda. So 5 Jedi died over in that hangar. And we get a nice eulogy from Yoda. Amongst other things, we get that little luminous beings are we line in there. But temporary vessels our bodies are. And yeah, it's a nice line. I love the ceremony. It's a beautiful ceremony in the area with the lights that beam up. We saw this once before with Obi-Wan's fake death in the same room, unless I'm mistaken. But this time there are 5 of the different Jedi going down into the floor. And, oh yeah, very, very nicely done. And hey, look, it's Barriss. That's cool. Super happy and excited to see Barriss back. It's been a while. That was certainly what I was thinking when I first saw her here. And the music during this scene also, oof, very nice. So next we move on and we've got this discussion in the hallway between Tarkin, Anakin, Ahsoka, and Barriss, who's along with us. So we find out that Tarkin, hey, he's an admiral now. Moving up quickly through those ranks, aren't you there, Tarkin? Palpatine does like you. We also find out that Letta has been moved. So the military has moved her and taken her into custody. Because, well, guess what? She's a civilian, she's not a Jedi, and the Jedi went with it. And there's some interesting statements in here too, like Tarkin talking about how an attack on the Jedi is an attack on the Senate. Ooh, just some of these things as to where you can get to on this. It's like, ooh boy. Now Ahsoka really, really takes big issue to all of this. She has a ton of anger and really wants... she wants Letta to face justice, or really, I think it's a bit more retribution, revenge, let's be frank, and is not happy with the military getting involved and not letting the Jedi deal with her. I mean, heck, Anakin even has to go, hey, calm down, Ahsoka, remember, revenge is not the Jedi way. When Anakin has to tell you that revenge is not the Jedi way, you might be going a little far that way, huh? Yeah. There's also some interesting stuff from Barriss over there. Barriss is different than the last time we saw her. Lines like this, the evidence seems clear, Ahsoka. Nothing will ever change. Almost this dejected, almost seemingly resigned attitude about this, and while she clearly disagrees. Yeah. And then we got some other interesting pieces out of Tarkin before he leaves. Talks about how the Chancellor feels strongly the Jedi should be removed from as many military matters as possible. Ho. After all, you yourself said you're peacekeepers, not soldiers. It's like, you just feel the noose tightening right here. Starting to isolate them a bit more. Yeah. And this last little bit, Ahsoka going, I hope Chancellor Palpatine knows what he's doing. Tarkin, I assure you that he rarely does anything without a strategy. No freaking kidding. You just might not necessarily see what that strategy is, as it's been used against you sometimes. Yo. Well, anyway, Tarkin and Anakin head on off, and then we get Ahsoka and Barriss getting to talk a little bit more, and, well, we get a really interesting line from Barriss in there. It's, Ahsoka, have you ever wondered if it was right to ignore your emotions? What an interesting line. That can't help but catch you a little bit when you hear it right there. Anyway, they continue to talk. Barriss clearly sees Ahsoka's really conflicted and having a big issue over what just happened. And you can tell Barriss does too, for that matter. And heck, we let Ahsoka end with this line of, look, I have to believe that one way or another, this woman's going to pay for what she did. Whew. Well, anyway, that's the end of their little piece. And then Ahsoka heads off to a war meeting and then finds out, because Tarkin lets them know that, guess what, apparently Letta has requested Ahsoka come and talk to her because that's the only person she will talk to. I gotta tell you, I don't know if it was the same for you as me in this situation, but that sounds a little suspicious off the bat. So off to the prison, justice center, whatever the heck is the correct name for this building. And oh, dang, the security in there is impressive. And Ahsoka has to turn in her lightsabers and her comm. I mean, I didn't know if anything was going to happen here the first time I watched, but it was a little unsettling regardless, just the way we were focusing on it being done. And a Jedi ever letting go of their lightsabers, there's a little bit of that going on right there. Just worry a little bit. Well, anyway, Ahsoka goes in and meets with Letta, and she goes ahead and excuses guard, so there she's in with Letta alone so the two can talk. And well, Letta says something that, hey, I was told if I ever needed help, you were the one that I should contact. And apparently a Jedi showed her how to do what she did. Yeah. So why would a Jedi do this, asks Ahsoka. Letta, there are some citizens of the Republic, like myself, who believe the Jedi Order is not what it used to be. The Jedi have become warmongers, they've become military weapons, and they're killing when they should be keeping the peace. One of these Jedi agreed with us. One of you wanted to make a statement and was willing to attack your own order to do it. Whew. Wow. Just right off the bat. Oh, the internal divisions that we do not tend to talk about or see. It's like there certainly are. Of course, they don't tend to blow up like this regardless. What a mess. I mean, this certainly has Palpatine's fingerprints all over it. I swear it sounds like it. I gotta say. What's up next? Well, Ahsoka finds out who actually was a Jedi, and the whole episode is finished. No, of course not. Instead, Letta starts getting force choked right before she's going to tell Ahsoka who the Jedi was. And she dies. And of course, Ahsoka's the one that gets blamed because she's a Jedi in the room with Letta, and, well, there's security cameras, and you tell me where else anyone was that did this. It must have been you, Ahsoka. Whew. And by the way, damn, I'm loving the music at this point, too. And I gotta tell you, at this point, it just feels like Tarkin's gotta be in on this, too. To have pulled Ahsoka of all people here, it just lines up too nicely. And apparently Ahsoka couldn't sense anybody else there, too. I mean, that definitely, at this point, I was going, well, that really sounds like Palpatine's got a hand in this. We know how well Palpatine can hide himself and his presence from anybody else. Oh, yeah. Oh, and I loved Anakin showing up super pissed off over to the prison. Yeah, and ultimately getting turned away and, well, being willing to back on down and walk away. Yeah, it was a nice moment. Okay, so what happens next? Well, the plot thickens even further. So a key card shows up for Ahsoka, who assumes of course it must come from Anakin, and uses it and gets out. And starts to work her escape. And yeah, no. This is a bigger setup in case she wasn't set up enough yet. How about we go ahead and double down? She finds a hallway full of attacked and downed clones. And hey, look, there are her lightsabers and her communicator. Well, let's just grab those and pick those up, because better keep escaping. And she starts running, and, well, she ends up crossing through a room with, a few dead clones from lightsaber strikes. That's gonna look good. Whew, yeah. And so the call goes out that, guess what? She's killed clones now. Code red, shoot to kill. Well, luckily Anakin and Rex show up and try to talk it down to being stunning and bringing her in alive. And, well, Anakin calls out and is not able to get Ahsoka to come back. I mean, clearly no one else other than you is going to believe me and I'm being set up, which, yeah, kind of clear that she is. Oh, yeah. Oh, a couple other interesting things before we completely walk out of that building. I love the Imperial feel of everything inside here. It's very much that style. And also, there was this interesting little reference, Easter egg, I swear, it's got to be a reference to R2 and C-3PO, just like in an Imperial droid fashion. Because kind of in the middle of the fight, those two are just walking through, the Imperial equivalent of the two of them, not R2 and C-3PO themselves, of course. It was just neat. I liked it. They didn't call too much attention to it, but it was certainly there. Well, anyway, we're outside and running, and there are these really cool clone statues, and the chase continues and continues as this huge chase goes through numerous different sections, and Oddball pops up, and that's cool. We get to see one of the clones we know up there helping do some reconnaissance during the course of the chase. Heck, Ahsoka even seems boxed in at one point and then does this mega force leap all the way up to a pipe which she cuts into and keeps on running. She gets us in a nice set of sewer pipes. And eventually Ahsoka hits an edge. And well, it's Anakin who catches up with her. And we get this final conversation between Anakin and Ahsoka in here. And it's just a good conversation. Let's just say that, no hesitation. Loved the conversation between the two of them and the different perspectives they clearly have as they're talking to each other. You didn't even come and try to help me. They wouldn't let me in to talk to you. You could have if you tried. How would that look, Ahsoka, huh? Forcing my way in would have made you look even more guilty. I'm not guilty. Then we have to prove you're innocent. The only way we can do that is by going back. Just, pieces like that, and you just see the different perspectives between the two. Anakin still believes in the system at this point. Clearly he does. He clearly thinks, well, yeah, sure, we can go ahead and prove it. You're not guilty, so we're going to make sure they all know, and they will. Whereas Ahsoka has been through the ringer enough at this point, she's not quite as trusting anymore as she used to be. And the end of the conversation, where Anakin makes a final plea for her to come in with him. You can trust me. I do trust you. But you know as well as I do that no one else will believe me. Anakin, you have to trust me now. Ahsoka, I do trust you. And Ahsoka puts a hand up to forestall that, and I know you do. Wish me luck. And then she jumps. And that is one hell of a jump down. I'm not gonna say I think Anakin might have been able to chase her, but that's a different matter. I think he can get away with at least claiming to anyone else that he couldn't. Or at least he couldn't be sure of it anyway. Yeah. I love the conversation between them, and just how much they were talking right past each other. They're talking about the same subjects, same things, and yet they just can't quite see on each other's wavelength. And by the way, this, I must say, also echoes The Fugitive a little bit for me. Assuming anybody has seen good old Harrison Ford in The Fugitive. But anyway, it's been a long time since I've seen that movie, but weren't they in something like sewer pipes and then he jumps off kind of like this at the end too? Not end of the movie, but just at a third of the way into the movie, quarter? I don't know. Something like that. Similar subject, so I've got to imagine it's inspired there, just since it struck that for me too, but dang, I have not seen that movie in ages. Wow, this was good. So much to love here. The action was top notch. It did a nice job of changing up the feel of the action as it went, shifting from one thing to another, so it didn't just start to feel repetitive and take a long time either. The music, whoever was working the music during this, nice job. It even felt like some of this music was newer and not just repetitions of stuff we'd heard already through the show again and again. And the machinations, twists and turns in here too. Love it. Moving right on over to the next one, To Catch a Jedi. Love the references in our titles, right? To Catch a Thief. And I love the little saying at the beginning of this one. Never become desperate enough to trust the untrustworthy. I remember seeing that going, well, now that's an interesting setup. I wonder where the hell we're going with that. Yeah. Well, now we're blaming Ahsoka for 6 dead clones. Whoo, boy. Plo Koon, Ahsoka's older master and friend, Well, not really master in that sense, but the one who found Ahsoka and brought her into the temple in the first place. I do not believe that Ahsoka could have fallen so far. And this is during a conversation with the Jedi Council and Tarkin. Good old Tarkin in here, left and right. The beliefs of the Jedi Council are irrelevant. We deal strictly in facts and evidence, and the evidence points to Padawan Tano being guilty of the attack on the temple and the murder of the Republic officers. This is sedition. Woo! Wow. Kind of going all the way for the top charges here, aren't we? Sedition. Wow. Damn. Well, Tarkin gets cut out and leaves, and then the council keeps discussing afterward. And it does not look like the council is super in Ahsoka's favor at this point in time. Just off the bat, it's not looking it. Now that said, even while that is the case, Anakin is super behind Ahsoka. He definitely believes her. And we get some conflicts between Mace and Anakin in this. Because Mace does not want Anakin being included in the search, because originally it's going to be set up to be Anakin and Plo Koon each leading a squad of clones to go find Ahsoka. And, Anakin having to hold himself back. Master Windu, with all due respect, she is my Padawan. It's like, how much was he having to force himself to be nice and control his outrage that he wanted to show there? Oh, you have got to wonder, because you know it's in there. Well, at least Obi-Wan comes to Anakin's defense in this case. And ultimately, yeah, Anakin gets to be there and head up one of those two troops to go down and search for Ahsoka. But that said, Anakin does say something interesting, which was, I'd rather capture Ahsoka and find out the truth than let her run because of a lie. Now, this really does put him at odds with Ahsoka. This is very much not where Ahsoka's at. It's very much is why you can be perceived to be part of the problem. Ahsoka is trying to run, trying to prove her innocence while she's out there and knowing she can't trust people to actually try to get through this while in custody because she was being set up like all hell. But meanwhile, Anakin, who is supposedly there for her, who trusts her, wants to go ahead and arrest her. Yes, he wants to prove her innocence, but he's not really quite there for her in the way that she wants or that she needs. He's essentially helping prop up the very system that is doing this to Ahsoka. Oh boy. And that could certainly be perceived that way. Oof. It's a real trick. Oh, and before we leave this scene, I love the storm and some of the lightning strikes back in the background during this scene. Really nice for the mood. So we get a bit of Ahsoka running around. She contacts Barriss through the comms links, and Barriss, of course, says she'll try to help. She gets on a train, gets spotted, keeps escaping, gets on a crashing turbo lift, which is actually a bit of a moment of comic relief for a second, because the little child Blue Twi'lek helps her by pressing the bloody button on the turbo lift to stop it from crashing, rather than having to slice her way out the top and jump out or something else like that. Sometimes the simpler option is the better one. Oh, and hey, there's this cool cat-like creature down here, down in the depths of Coruscant. And I'd actually run across an image of it before, way back when I was doing a Black Cats video for the channel back on a Friday the 13th, way back. Because I was looking for any kind of cats in Star Wars that maybe I didn't know about or whatever. And hey, I ran across that thing. Can't remember its name right now, though. But yeah, so it's cool to actually see it in here, and it pops up a few times, actually, throughout this episode. I think just this episode. Maybe the next one, too. Okay, now let's find out what that first title thing was talking about, the whole trusting the untrustworthy. Because it's Asajj Ventress. Oh, I'm only too happy to see Ventress pop back up. I'm always a fan of Ventress being in these episodes. She's just so well done, so well acted as well, and the writers do a good job. Unsurprisingly, Ahsoka assumes Ventress was behind everything at first. Hey, you see her here. Yeah, that might be an idea. Well, maybe she could have disguised herself and got ahead and killed Letta. That said, as the audience, it's a little too simple. Can't be Ventress. Also, it's really not Ventress's MO anymore. Someone would have had to have given her a heck of a lot as a bounty hunter to go do that. So what's Ventress going to do here? Well, she's just going to take Ahsoka in and turn her in for the bounty. Easy bounty. And what's interesting, you kind of expect this one coming, but Ahsoka eventually decides she needs Ventress's help. And I love the line Ventress responds to that with. In what star system do you think I would ever help you? Yeah. Oh, no kidding. Now, Ventress gets some other good lines in there, too. So the Jedi aren't that holy after all. No, they really aren't. Certainly, this is not them at their high points here. But what's interesting is just how Ahsoka gets through to Ventress, and it really just speaks to where each of their characters are and the character arcs that we've actually taken them through and Ventress to this point, too. Which is really cool, actually. How they've both fallen from their past, been abandoned by those they trusted, etc. It's really intriguing. And it ends up meaning that Ventress actually does work with Ahsoka here. Well, before they get too much further into their talking, Anakin and one of those two squads of clone troopers end up spotting them. And that also means Anakin spots Ventress. Now that one's interesting. Ventress and Ahsoka get away, good old force field barrier, so no problem there. And then over in some back alleyway somewhere down there, Ahsoka contacts Barriss and finds out that Barriss, she went ahead and found out a clue. There's a munitions warehouse nearby, apparently. And the clones are closing in, so cut that transmission, and, well, Ahsoka actually gets Ventress not to go kill all those clones, which has to amuse you a little. The whole thought is that Ahsoka went ahead and killed 5 clones at the prison, etc., but she takes out an entire squad without killing any. Now, of course, different circumstances, different times, but it should at least put just a little piece into your head about wondering, did she really kill those clones? She could have just killed everybody right there, too, especially with Ventress, but didn't. As Ventress says before they part ways, these are strange times. Oh, aren't they? It's beautiful that we worked up a situation where these two would be working together. Amusingly enough, Ventress and Obi-Wan were working together just, the end of last season? Which was also intriguing as heck to have those two. No, the places we're taking Ventress as a character at this point, and the people around her, are really intriguing. For a character that could have just been a 2-dimensional villain henchman, we have decided to make her so much more than that here over these last couple seasons. Last few seasons, actually. Yeah, I'm very pleased with the direction we've gone with that. Very, very pleased. Well, anyway, so they parted ways, and Ahsoka heads on up to the warehouse, but then someone gets a drop on Ventress, takes her lightsaber and mask, and then attacks Ahsoka. My first reaction is like, whoa, was not expecting that. Okay, mystery there. Barriss? Is that Barriss? Look, who else? Because clearly female, would fit with knowing about the pieces, and then the emotion and questioning she had earlier. I admit I wasn't thinking about it too much before that, but that spot especially, it's like, yeah, it's gotta be. So big fight between the two. And it ends by, well, Ahsoka doesn't win this fight. Gets knocked down in front of a whole bunch of packages of nanodroids, where she then gets found by Anakin and Anakin's group of clone troopers. Yeah. Oh, right, with all the evidence for the very weaponry. Yeah, we've questioned whether you're guilty before. Oh man, that makes you look guilty. And the episode ends with Ahsoka in custody and them taking her back over to the Jedi Temple, and Mace Windu giving this really foreshadowing, ominous line of, I hope we can keep her here. Yeah, kind of going to assume, right off the bat from hearing that line, it ain't going to happen. So, my opinion on this episode after I saw it was, wow, still very good. And then it's one of those, so who got to Barriss? Palpatine? I can definitely see Palpatine's fingerprints on this. Just thinking about it. You isolate Anakin away from Ahsoka. You definitely want those two apart. This would also seed so much more doubt in the Jedi, both outside in public sentiment as well as within, in terms of Anakin. Oh yeah. This episode was not quite as cinematic as the two before, but still pretty dang cinematic. And hey, it was really good regardless. And wow, just with that, we're already to the finale episode of the 4 and the finale of season 5. This is The Wrong Jedi. We start up in the Jedi Council, And the council's there, and Tarkin's there talking with them, and this is gonna get so much messier than it was before. You want to talk about compromising your ideals? Oh, here we come. Because Tarkin makes an unreasonable request that they can't easily refuse. The Senate requests that Ahsoka Tano be indicted for acts of treason against the Republic. Now, I gotta tell you, isn't it interesting that it keeps being Tarkin, a military admiral who is speaking to the Jedi Council on behalf of the Senate? There's some interesting machinations there when you start thinking about that one. Why not, say, one of the senators talking to the Jedi Council if they're talking on behalf of the Senate? The power of the military, the power of Tarkin here. And Tarkin is clearly a bit of an avatar for Palpatine at this point, too. Yoda pushes back a little, because no. A fair trial she'll have in accordance with Jedi tradition. As expected. But Tarkin's response is that, the Senate thinks an internal trial would seem biased. And instead you should expel Ahsoka from the Jedi Order and have her face a military tribunal. So after Tarkin leaves, they discuss. And by the way, first, right off the bat, as I was saying, you give them an impossible decision. There is no good solution for the Jedi Council here. They are backed into a corner. They either do not stand as well for their ideals and their own as they should, or they potentially isolate themselves more from the public, more from the Senate, and are able to be manipulated more by Palpatine into that. What a mess. And on top of that, Ahsoka looks a little guilty at this point. Well, Obi-Wan seems to be the only person really speaking up for Ahsoka here. I mean, surely we can't do what Tarkin suggests. We need to stand together with Ahsoka. But there doesn't seem to be anybody else really agreeing. Now, we don't really hear Plo Koon weigh in too much one way or the other. I'm curious exactly what his opinion was. Windu is very clear which side he's on. Can't be seen as opposing the Senate. Yeah. When your whole thing is about how much you stand up for your ideals and you don't do it here? Ow. So we're heading off to the Chamber of Judgment. And just off the bat, let me tell you, that is a cool name of a room. Gotta give it to them Jedi for naming their different rooms and things in such fancy wording. I don't know. You get what I'm saying, I think, here. Ornate is kind of the way it feels as to what they do with these different rooms. Heck, look, the architecture and the decoration, too. Now, before Ahsoka goes up, it's nice to get a moment between Anakin and Ahsoka, and you can tell Anakin's already not as sure of things as he used to be before. Super unsure of what to do, and Ahsoka looks so resigned. Not that she's not going to keep fighting, but still. Well, anyway, up into the Chamber of Judgment. Great music. It's a cool room. Love the rotating platform that takes Ahsoka up there and all the alcoves that are in there for the council itself. And by the way, let me tell you, that council seems a little predetermined on which way they are going. There's an interesting moment for Ahsoka who's not sure about who's behind it, talking about how her senses are clouded for who she thinks it is. She thinks it's probably Ventress, but she doesn't know. And Yoda talks about, how clouded by the dark side these events are. And, really lots of things in these times are really clouded by the dark side for the Jedi. Oh, what a mess, what a mess, what a mess. And that does not help anything they're doing. It puts them so much more on edge, and they fall for Palpatine's shit that much more because of it. Well, anyway, Anakin angrily jumps in. You've already made your decision, haven't you? This meeting is just a formality. Yeah, no shit. No shit. And Yoda admits that that's exactly the case, and Windu says that guess what? They think Ahsoka's guilty, and they're expelling Ahsoka from the Jedi Order. As much as you could see it leading up to this, and you knew it was where it had to go, given what we've seen earlier in this very episode, it still hits you. It's still a gut punch to see this one happen. Heck, to watch the faces of Ahsoka and Anakin during this, the betrayal, the outrage. Heck, to watch the guard ripping off her Padawan beads from her head. Yeah, one hell of a gut punch, even if you could see from the beginning of this episode it's where it was headed. Even if based on what was going on in the last episode and whatnot, it felt like we were probably headed this direction. Still, that didn't mean we necessarily would go through this step. Maybe there will be a way around it. I don't know. But, damn. So yeah, Ahsoka expelled from the Jedi Order. And back in prison she goes now. That other nice, nasty prison. So a military tribunal. No, she can't get a public one. That might be a little more fair. Yeah, not that it's probably going to do a lot of good anyway. Reminds me of something from episode 3. You can't trust any kind of fair trial, because Palpatine controls the courts. Wonder how much he controlled them by this point in time, because we're still probably a few years out from Revenge of the Sith. Probably. Yeah, anyway. So Padme's going to represent Ahsoka, and we get to see her for a little bit here. Anakin doesn't stick around long, because if the only lead is Ventress, well, it's pretty clear where the hell Anakin's got to go. It's the only thing to do. Because he is going to damn well do anything he can for his apprentice, for Ahsoka specifically. Yeah, and he successfully tracks down Ventress. And there are no bars held in terms of force choking, anger, everything else out of Anakin. This is Anakin getting a lot closer to Unleashed right here. Because he is pissed as hell. And desperate. Backed into a corner himself at this point. And probably feeling a bit of guilt considering what happened, even though he had as much confidence as he did that, yeah, the truth would come out, that Jedi would probably stand behind her and him as well. And they didn't. And this whole conversation between Anakin and Ventress, there's some good stuff in here. Ventress talking about how much she found in common with Ahsoka. And the line between the two of them, Anakin, how dare you compare yourself to Ahsoka? Ventress, it's true. My master abandoned me, and that's exactly what you did to her. You and your precious Jedi Order. Yeah. Isn't it, though? You gotta wonder what kind of seeds of greater doubt in the Jedi that puts in Anakin. There's no way that all of this doesn't do just that. Well, eventually, the conversation gets around to the fact that Ventress doesn't have her lightsabers, and whoever went ahead and knocked her over the head went ahead and got her lightsabers. And Ventress remembers the fact that Ahsoka called and talked to Barriss, so there is someone else who did know. And then Anakin, if you're lying, you're dead. Probably means it, too. Ventress, such promises. Just the Ventress way of closing it out right there. Love Ventress. Oh, man. Yeah. Everything that's beneath the surface in that whole conversation. Love it. Why I love seeing Ventress pop up. Getting to see this side of Anakin get unleashed. It's scary, and it also shows you where Anakin's going. I mean, it's the devil that he's constantly fighting inside himself. Such a mess. Okay, off to the military tribunal. So Palpatine is presiding over it. Head of the military, I suppose, so he gets to preside. Whee! Or at least preside in the cases that he wants to, I suppose. Tarkin on one side, Padme on the other. Tarkin seeking the death penalty for Ahsoka. Oh boy. Padme tries the defense of, hey, why would Ahsoka use a method so obvious to implicate her? Well, yeah, it's not the greatest defense, but what else do you got right now? And Tarkin then mentions her associations with known separatist terrorist Ventress. Yeah, that one doesn't help her at all right there. Oh man, that paints her in an ugly, ugly light. Oh, what a mess. And Palpatine gets this super manipulative speech. Oh man, does he? Because he's gotta know what's behind all of this. But he even gives his whole idea of, well, maybe the Separatists are behind this, trying to pit us against ourselves. Just trying to rip up the Jedi and all of us. See, Palpatine's a good guy. Oh, plausible deniability too, right? Well, anyway, in the meantime, Anakin heads back to the Jedi Temple and confronts Barriss. And, well, yeah, when he goes ahead and swings her own lightsaber at her, or starts to, guess what? 2 lightsabers fly over into Barriss's hands. It's Ventress's 2 lightsabers. Well, I think they look good on me. Yeah. Interesting line out of Barriss about trust and how Ahsoka trusted her. Well, guess what? I've learned that trust is overrated. The only thing the Jedi Council believes in is violence. Wow. Yeah. Big lightsaber fight. Double lightsabers versus double lightsabers. It's big. It goes down the hallways, out the window. And hey, we get to briefly see the younglings from that earlier arc this season as they're out training their lightsabers with good old Master Sanube training them. I gotta say, that's cool. Nice little touch. It was a fun lightsaber duel fight. Anakin, of course, wins. I mean, there shouldn't be any surprise about who won this fight. Well, back to the tribunal. And by the way, before we get too much further than the tribunal, I gotta say, it is clear that Palpatine's voice is different at this point. Definitely is. As we said, Ian Abercrombie died back earlier in the season. We got that little memorial note to him at the beginning of one of the episodes. So yeah, here's the new voice of Palpatine, and I gotta say, it's taking a little getting used to right now. Well, Anakin bursts on into the tribunal at the 11th hour with Barriss, and Barriss has her confession. And it's really more of a speech, shall we say, about all the problems and why she did it. And it's a good speech. I liked it. Here, as I'm wont to do, here's the speech. I did it because I've come to realize what many people in the Republic have come to realize, that the Jedi are the ones responsible for this war, that we've lost our way so much that we've become villains in this conflict, that we are the ones that should be put on trial, all of us. And my attack on the temple was an attack on what the Jedi have become, an army fighting for the dark side, fallen from the light that we once held so dear. This Republic is failing. It is only a matter of time. And in so many ways, she's right. The Jedi are an army fighting for the dark side. They're fighting for Palpatine, Mr. King Bad Daddy of the dark side himself. And they have fallen so many ways from the ideals that they held dear. They have become warmongers. Heck, remember Obi-Wan and Satine's debates back seasons ago. Yeah, peacekeepers are you? No, Palpatine has manipulated the shit out of them and everyone else and done one hell of a job of playing them like a fiddle. Wouldn't say the Jedi are necessarily the ones responsible for the war. That might be a little too far, but point being. And we can certainly debate about Barriss's methods for what she's done. That's certainly another debate. Now, before jumping further, I gotta say, did Barriss act alone? I so want to see Palpatine's fingers in it. Maybe that's more the case. Maybe Palpatine wasn't involved. It's possible. But it so feels like his kind of machinations. It feels like exactly how he would want things to go down. And I have no idea if this is ever answered one way or the other anyway. I've no idea. But certainly Palpatine could have helped twist Barriss a little bit. On the other hand, do you call it twisting? Well, to get her to do that, yeah. But also just how Ahsoka gets brought in. But then again, I guess, Ahsoka was brought in on the line that she was told by Barriss, clearly, that if you're ever in a jam, the person to trust and turn to is Ahsoka. So it could even be that Barriss's very own trust in Ahsoka backfired and led to Ahsoka being the one that got set up and framed. Therefore, Barriss had to come in there and kill Letta before Letta revealed it was Barriss to Ahsoka. I mean, that is possible. I could see that. I don't know. I gotta admit, I don't know if this is Barriss acting on her own or if Palpatine's involved in it. I think I just want to see Palpatine's fingers in everything. It just is not like I want to, but I'm just likely to do it. But I don't know in the end. Because I can see Ahsoka having gotten involved in this not due to Palpatine trying to isolate Anakin and having nothing to do with that, just because Barriss actually trusted Ahsoka that it actually backfired. I wonder if it is ever confirmed one way or the other whether Palpatine had any involvement in Barriss turning like this. Interesting questions. Anyway, okay, let's head to the finale of all this. The story finale. We've already taken care of the plot. The plot just finished up. So we go back over to the Jedi Council. And the Jedi Council's, doing their apologies, shall we say. Although Mace is Mace, right? So he picks up on this line from one of the others and he goes, oh yeah, this was actually your great trial. Now we see that. We understand that the Force works in mysterious ways, and because of this trial, you have become a greater Jedi than you would have otherwise. Oh, you are so full of shit, Mace. You were just trying to dig your way out of this with this BS as if, oh look, this is a good thing. Almost as if, hey, we didn't screw up super bad because this was actually a great trial for you. Gotta say, it doesn't look like Ahsoka's buying any of this either, the whole crossing the arms and whatnot. Yeah. Dang, Mace. Well, anyway, Yoda extends the offer that you're expecting here, which is back into the order you may come. And Anakin pops up. They're asking you back, Ahsoka. I'm asking you back. With the Padawan beads in his hand. And there's this good dramatic pause where we spend some time with this. And then she closes Anakin's hand on those beads. I'm sorry, Master, but I'm not coming back. You could have heard a pin drop in there. Oh, man. You want to talk about gut punches? That's a gut punch, too. Very different type of gut punch. Because, Ahsoka's got to come back, right? Well, no. And heck, as far as the episode, how that hits Anakin and all the rest of the council, you get to watch it on their faces. Wow. Well, Anakin runs out after Ahsoka, and just outside the Jedi Temple, he catches up. And by the way, this is picturesque as hell, just looking at this. Whoever did the work, the cinematography, the visuals on this, oh, it's beautiful. And the discussion between the two here. Anakin always looks at things in a lens reflecting around himself. And it certainly is clear here, too. Why are you doing this? The council didn't trust me, so how can I trust myself? What about me? I believed in you. I stood by you. And Ahsoka even has to say, hey, this isn't about you. I'm grateful, but it isn't you. This is about me. And it's true. And Anakin, the Jedi Order is your life. You can't just throw it away like this. Ahsoka, you are making a mistake. Maybe, but I have to sort this out on my own, without the council, and without you. And I gotta tell you, Anakin's line on that, it really feels like there's a lot of self-reflection in there about the Jedi Order being your life. You can't just throw it away. Otherwise, Anakin probably would have left the dang Jedi Order himself already. He traps himself in there, viewing it as it is his life, and he can't throw it away. But he might be more happy if he had chosen to. Oh, anyway. But Anakin, I understand. More than you realize. I understand wanting to walk away from the Order. And Ahsoka's last line there. I know. That line, yeah, I wonder just how much she really does understand and know, or just gets the hints toward it as to how much he would like to walk away from the Order. She's been his Padawan and that close to him for a while. She has to have caught on to some of those feelings, even if she doesn't know about the marriage to Padme. Still, even without that specific knowledge, she still has to have caught a lot of it. Oh, and just, I love how this gets into Anakin too, as well as Ahsoka, and it treats them both so well here. Well, and then we get to see the sadness on Ahsoka's face, the grief on Anakin's, and then she walks away, and we just watch her walk away. And it's sunset, which is the other half of what makes it beautiful, and that's fitting to all of this too. Just chills up the back of the neck, literally, watching this. Heck, chills up the back of my neck right there when I was just talking about it. Wow. Dang. Oh, and I'm so happy they changed the end credit music too. It's so much more reflective of the mood of the finale. It doesn't just instant break you out of that. So nicely done. Man, if I could give an 11 out of 10 to an episode, this one would probably have gotten an 11 out of 10 from me. I was just floored by this finale. It was done so well. I mean, sometimes this series goes far deeper than I expected to ever go, and this was certainly one of those times. And this episode here, my favorite episode of the series yet at this point, and my favorite arc of the series at this point. Wow. Yeah, I think I've talked mostly about why it's such a wow. Yeah. Well, season 5. And yep, they pulled it off. Ultimately, I rank season 5 above season 4. It's close. I mean, if it weren't for the weak opening that season 4 had, I'd probably put it a hair higher than season 5 overall as a season. But for me, season 5 never truly misfired. Yes, there were some episodes that were not as good, but even those were still mostly enjoyable. And this format here that we've been doing with 4-episode arcs throughout the season, it's been great. I loved it. Although, I mean, let's be honest, there has certainly been some good shorter arcs in the past, and there certainly are some that could have been a little shorter during this season, certainly at least one of them, and one of them probably could have been longer. But still, switching to this format, I feel has helped them go a little bit deeper with their characters and plots, which is something that I greatly appreciate. Heck, the amount of time they get for each of these makes it like a short movie each time in their length, which is great. So, yeah, wow. Now, I gotta admit, I'm Also, pretty sad to know that I just finished the last long season of the show. The next 2 seasons are 13 and 12 episodes? That's only 25 episodes left. Whereas these other seasons have been 20 and 22, so wow. There are so many people I still hope to see so much from. And Ahsoka and Ventress better still pop up in here again, I'm saying. They better still be in here some more. Heck, I mean, I'm already starting to see this series a bit more in the past tense, and I'm sad about that at this point. But hey, I guess there is Rebels after this too, so there's that. And I have really been enjoying Clone Wars so far. Dang, I have. Well, anyway, it is not over yet. Next week, it's going to be on to Season 6. Hopefully, it'll still be bigger and better. Hell, hey, we'll see. We'll see. And sad time. So, hey, well, what about you? Did you think Season 4 or Season 5 was the better of the 2 seasons? And what did you think of this amazing Ahsoka arc? Let me know down below in the comments. And thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a like and share it with anyone who you think will too. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you back here tomorrow for another new episode of Freeform Disney. Have a magical day, and may the Force be with you always.